From Oshkosh Community Media Services, this is Oshkosh City Cable 10 and broadcast on 101.9 FM WOCT Oshkosh. From Oshkosh Community Media Services and the City of Oshkosh, this is the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your City Manager. Your hosts, Nick Austin from Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and the star of the show, City Manager Mark Roloff. Mark, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Nick.
As always, on this show, we'll cover the upcoming agenda items for the Oshkosh Common Council meeting. This program will preview those for the Tuesday, June 25th meeting. But let's first get into our municipal highlights like we always do to start the show. Tuesday, June 11th was the actual ribbon-cutting ceremony, or dedication, if you will, for the Butte Amor Causeway. And the newly rebuilt Causeway, Mark, promises to really smooth out some traffic issues on US 41 due to lane expansion. And Wisconsin DOT Secretary Mark Gottlieb is hoping that more lanes means less accidents.
The new causeway will provide increased safety and stability for traffic, including 3 through lanes and an auxiliary lane in each direction, lighting of the entire causeway, bicycle and pedestrian recreational trail, and efficient access on Lake Butte Amor. We want to be able to make our projects be something that communities can point to with pride as not only transportation facilities, but aesthetically pleasing ones as well.
And speaking of aesthetically pleasing, you can see right there, I mean, a very good-looking structure. But Mark, one thing that Secretary Gottlieb did not really address in that soundbite that we just heard is how will this kind of impact the local economy?
This is going to have a huge impact on the local economy. And when I say local, it's not just Oshkosh or Winnebago County. It really is all of northeast Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. This area, is a convergence of where Highway 41 and 45 come together. So this is really for all of northeast Wisconsin. And when you think of northeast Wisconsin as an economy, it really is the second largest economy in the state in terms of where goods and services flow. And most of those goods and services will flow across the Butte Amor Causeway at any time if they're traveling by truck. So this is huge implications for both Oshkosh as well as northeast Wisconsin. For Oshkosh, the advantage is that as traffic does go through this area, whether it's tourists or truck, they're going to be getting off to fuel up, to whether you're fueling up your own personal tank or your belly. Either way, you're going to be stopping at some point along the way. So this is the area where people recognize as sort of the focal point of taking off for the rest of northeast Wisconsin. So this represents a lot. All the parts of the soundbite that Secretary Gottlieb talked about were very much more towards us individually. Right. The trail on the bridge, which is going to connect Oshkosh with the Wyowash Trail in a couple areas, and eventually we'll loop around, and so we'll have a nice little loop that is the Wyowash Trail and the bridge over Butte Amor, and then hopefully in and around the golf course leading back to Highway 21 and back to the Wyowash Trail. So there's great implications for us, but economically speaking, I think that cannot be overlooked. And Secretary Gottlieb did refer to it during his discussion, but I think that's something that everybody benefits from, which is why the state invested such an incredible amount of money on this project.
Absolutely. Now, another transportation item, if you will, Go Transit changed their routes back on April 1st. Since those updates have kind of taken into effect and they've been running for at least a small amount of time now, what have been the biggest positives there?
There are a lot of positives, and it was as a result of a lot of input from the public on things that they wanted to see. And so the changes we made were in response to these. Things such as service areas, service to areas that hadn't previously been served, including things like the Southwest Industrial Park and the North Industrial Park, which are destinations for employees. So now employees can take the bus to work, where in the past that service didn't even exist. But then there's also other destinations such as the 20th Avenue YMCA, the outlet shops, those types of areas have also been served. And then there's frequent destinations. We knew from our ridership that people wanted to get to places such as UW Oshkosh and Walmart and Target stores. So we wanted to make sure that several routes went there. And since not all the buses go downtown anymore, there's a potential for shorter, more direct trips between these origins and destinations, such as UWO and Walmart and Target, things that people want to go to. And then the one thing that we knew was still important to people was that 30-minute frequency, because they wanted some reliability on the bus system.
Sure, you don't want to sit there forever and just wait and wait and wait. It can get frustrating.
Right, and so we've got that, so you're still on a 30-minute schedule, but we have a north side route and a west side route that are dedicated for just that, so you don't have to go downtown all the time anymore, which I think was something that we heard loud and clear. And then there's adjusted service times. It runs slightly later at night, and we were able to do that through these route changes, which are not really extending the entire day, but extending the service just a little bit more for everybody.
Sure. Now, obviously, with any sort of a change, if you will, you're going to get the positive, but you're also going to get some negative. So what are some of the complaints that have maybe been heard since these changes have taken into effect?
I'd say probably the most common complaint we've received is that we're no longer going into parking lots at certain destinations, such as both of our hospitals, and the one other one I hear about is the Northside Pick and Save.
Okay.
That was really a conscious choice we made. We really wanted to expand the neighborhood service area without sacrificing access in the neighborhoods. We wanted to improve our system reliability, and we also wanted to reduce vehicle pedestrian conflicts in parking lots.
Sure.
The buses, when they're in the parking lots, have to go a lot slower. They're down to 5 miles an hour.
Okay.
So every time they're in a parking lot, they're going 5 miles an hour versus when they're on the street, they're going 25 miles an hour.
Sure.
They're able to cover 5 times more more ground. So somebody who may have to walk a little bit of ways to go from the street to, say, into a grocery store like a Pick and Save, they can maybe be closer to their home. So the idea was to extend the availability for more people, and the goal is we'll hopefully get more people taking the bus.
Yeah, and one other thing to mention, obviously, is we're still continuing to kind of gather input as time goes along for that, right?
Sure, we're not set in stone on these things, and we recognize, and I've told Chris, our transportation director, Chris Strong, stories about when I rode a bus in high school and how the riders rose up in opposition to some route changes. We want to hear the changes, and since I was a real activist back then, I want to listen to those issues, and we are listening to some of the concerns that have been expressed, and we're evaluating those and trying to say, okay, how can we tweak the system? We don't want to make wholesale changes because we don't want people to think we're going to just keep changing the routes. Then there's no reliability in the system. So we'll make little tweaks to be responsive to some of these legitimate concerns that are being brought up, and you'll see those, but give us a few more months before we start making any changes.
And when you weren't riding to high school, you were walking uphill both ways in the snow. Isn't that how it goes?
Absolutely, yeah, all the way.
All right, so back to another ribbon-cutting event now. The new zoo exhibit, the River Otter exhibit, held its ribbon-cutting ceremony back on June 10th. Complete with 2 female otters named Winnie and Minnie, the addition could help Menominee Park in meeting one of their future goals, according to Parks Operations Manager Chad Dahlman.
Our annual attendance right now is about 80,000 that come through the gates, and keep in mind we're just a seasonal zoo right now, open from May to September. Our long-term goal is hope to be open year-round, and with these native exhibits it would be more feasible to do so in the future. Our goal hopefully in the next year and a half is that we're up to 100,000.
Always good to have goals for yourself, Mark. I don't know if you've had a chance to be out at the new exhibit and see the River Otters, but just talk about maybe what kind of an impact, and kind of elaborate on what Chad said, but what kind of an impact and how nice is it that when new exhibits come to, whether it's a museum or a zoo, and what the lure is there.
You mentioned the museum, and I think that's a good example of exhibits need to stay. Keep moving, keep fluid, because if it gets old, then there's nothing new and exciting to go see.
Right.
Not that we're going to have something as elaborate as the Otter exhibit opening up all the time, but the Menominee Park Zoo has appeal mainly to families, and we want to maintain that. And we always want to be responsive to what people are looking for in a zoo at Menominee Park. The case in this case, the strategy really is to get more native type of animals. Chad talked about some of the long-term visions, perhaps being open year-round. That's a very long-term vision. But the idea is to make it more relevant, make it educational about what a zoo reflects for the animal life in this area.
Sure.
And the River Otter exhibit really does that. And even the videos don't do enough justice because the otters are just getting used to the place.
Yeah.
And look how active they are. You go to a place with a zoo with a lion, well, lions are really cool, but they sleep 22 hours a day.
Right.
So otters are out there, they're active, they're playful, and they're only going to get better as they get more accustomed. So we know that native animals will be more attractive long run to people, and we're just really fortunate that the Herrenbergs and the Community Foundation really made these donations because people care about their local zoos, and the Menominee Park Zoo is really a jewel in our system, and we're so happy to have people that are committed to the zoo and really care about it and recognize that to keep people interested in the zoo and interested in Menominee Park, that every once in a while you have to invest in exhibits like this to keep everybody interested in the zoo.
Sure. All right, so we're nearing the end of June here, and come July, it'll be time for the annual fireworks display. Can't stress this enough, but Mark, tell us about this year's fireworks show, when it will be, and the details there.
Well, first thing is our Independence Day celebration will be throughout the entire weekend, but July 5th at Menominee Park is when we're going to be doing the fireworks show. We're very thankful to have Festival Foods as our partner in this, and there's some advertisements out there that said July 4th. We moved it to July 5th for a variety of reasons. Part of it was because July 5th is on a Friday. We want to make sure that if somebody has to go to work the next day or their kids need to go somewhere, that we wanted them to be able to stay up a little late that night.
Right.
If it's on Friday, July 5th, they can sleep in a little more on Saturday morning. So it was very family friendly. It is less expensive for us in terms of overtime because there's a lot of traffic that needs to get moved because it's a very popular event.
Yeah.
So our show is going to be on July 5th, and Festival and the city are sponsoring the event, and it's going to be still held in conjunction with Sawdust Days.
Yep.
But it's I believe it's going to be a permanent relationship we have with Festival Foods, or at least for the near future, and we're really happy that they're partnering with us.
Okay, July 5th, good to know. Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, as we always say, of this show, the question mark segment. So, Mark, this is usually where we reveal the question, but before we get to today's question, Mark, I hear you have actually quite the story about question mark from recently here.
Yeah, well, I was walking to the grocery store the other day trying to get a little exercise in, and I'm leaving the store, and I'm virtually at the edge of the parking lot when somebody calls out, Mark, and I turn around, and it was this lady by the name of Sandy who said, I watch you on question mark, not city manager report. I watch you on question mark all the time. And I was like, it was so sweet of her to say that, but she appreciates the questions that we do get answered here. And so it's great. So I wanted to a shout out to Sandy and thank her for recognizing me, and she enjoys the show, enjoys the answers that we give her. So I guess we better keep answering the questions as they come in.
Yeah, with that said, let's get to the question for you today. Why is Oshkosh not included in the designated Fox cities? And this is not from Sandy, just to clarify.
No, this was not Sandy's question. This was a question we had that was emailed into us. But there's a long history with that, and probably the reason I know as much about it is because in my previous community I was in what was known as the Fox cities. Fox cities actually goes back to something that the various newspapers had designated to try to get their service areas established, and the Appleton Post Crescent service areas is kind of Neenah, Menasha up to Kaukauna, whereas the Northwestern's is Winnebago County and surrounding areas. So I think it was a post-Crescent's way when they were competing with one another as opposed to being part of the same family. They were trying to get their service area established, and it was the Neenah to Kaukauna, including Appleton in between, was the Fox City. So it was really more of a marketing thing that was done. They weren't trying to leave.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that would be your answer for that question.
Yeah, it wasn't to leave Oshkosh out.
Right.
It's I think we all recognize we all work as a regional economy. We cooperate a great deal with what's going on with the Fox cities.
Sure.
But it used to be called the Fox River Valley before that, and I think people say, "Oh, you're in the Fox River Valley." But most people, Appleton, Oshkosh, that's what people relate to, and we're very proud of being in Oshkosh. And just because we're not part of the Fox cities isn't a slap at anybody or anything. We're all part of Northeast Wisconsin, as we talked about earlier.
If any of you listening to this program or watching this program have a question for Mark, just @ci.oshkosh.wi.us. That's the email address. And before we get to break here, one other thing worth mentioning, the Main Street Matters campaign still going on. Vote through June 30th to hopefully help Oshkosh or downtown Oshkosh get a repainting and a revitalization. To vote for Oshkosh, go to paintwhatmatters.com, and we'll be right back after a break.
Hi, I'm Mayor Burtower, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
Welcome back to the City Manager's Report. It's time now to dive into the upcoming agenda items for the Tuesday, June 25th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. And Mark, first thing under the consent agenda items, item number 4, it's an approval of change order. And what's going on with this? Because this is a fairly large change order that we're looking at here, almost, $500,000.
Yeah, this is for the Sawyer Creek channel improvements. This is that area where we've dredged up Sawyer Creek, and late last year we discovered some petroleum contamination down near the mouth of where Sawyer Creek opens up to the Fox River, near Abe Rockland Park. And there were some issues we had to address, had to get approved by the DNR, and involved a lot of hauling to the landfill. And so we had to do several things there.
Okay.
This $500,000 is just with the contractor. That doesn't include the additional engineering work we had to do, or even the waste that goes to the landfill. This was a fairly expensive addition.
So where are you picking up the extra money?
Well, fortunately, the project originally was under budget a little bit because we got really good bids. It was good timing to do it. But this does go into other capital projects, specifically stormwater projects. It's likely we may have to push a project or two back. We talked the last show about the borrowing that we did for stormwater. The rates are going up a little bit, so that's pinching us a little more. So there's several pinch points here. $500,000 is nothing to sneeze at. So we knew that the potential was there for that when we uncovered the petroleum contamination. it'll basically push projects back. And not tons of projects, but a big project like this, a couple $1 million, cumulative effect is we could have a project move back an entire year.
Okay.
That's entirely possible. But I will say that, for example, with this project, I've had residents from that neighborhood say that even with recent storms we've had, they notice that there's a difference in what they're seeing out there in terms of how much Sawyer Creek is swelling during these storms. So I think the public's recognizing these. We have to keep the projects moving forward, but we have to also recognize that we got to do them right. So we don't skimp on when we're doing a project. We need to do it right so that when we move on to the next project, we know that the Sawyer Creek project is behind us. We don't have to worry about that again. So patience is really the important thing we have to learn with all of these projects. But it'll be well worth it, and people will see the value in it.
Sure. Item number 9 under the consent agenda items is dealing with the Great Neighborhoods Capital Improvement Programs. What is the money going to improvement-wise here?
When we set up the NeighborWorks program, NeighborWorks strongly suggested that we create a pool of funds available to really let the neighborhoods help decide improvements that were important to them. It still has to be approved by council, and that's what this is about on Tuesday night.
Okay.
We had some funds set aside, about $150,000 a year. This is to allocate about $111,000 for 3 separate projects. One is some signage at community gardens to say these gardens are being improved through the neighborhood associations, and those are in several of our neighborhood associations. 2 of the other ones, one is the George Washington Monument Square improvements. That's in the Millers Bay Neighborhood Association, kind of the north end of Nonomy Park, Hazel area. And then Tech Miller Park had some improvements that were actually in our capital improvements plan, but they kind of fell down the list because limited funds, we had to prioritize. Tech Miller Park, this is in the Algoma Park neighborhood area. And that group felt very strongly that for their neighborhood, these park improvements were very important to to their neighborhood.
To the value.
So, to the value, and to give the neighborhood a rallying point for something that they can relate to. This is our neighborhood. And so Tech Miller Park improvements were recommended by the Neighborhood Association and NeighborWorks, and so now we're bringing it back to council. So council still has final say on these things, but the neighborhoods are really providing the input, and that's what we're trying to do, to give the community something to wrap their arms around, to engage in, and this is what they're engaging in, and I think these are demonstrating that they're seeing that neighborhood beautification is important. We start with the parks, then they'll do their homes, and then that'll raise the value of every neighborhood.
And when you mention neighborhood associations, who should someone contact in order to maybe set up a neighborhood association?
Well, if you want to be like the Millers Bay area or the Algoma Park area or any of the other neighborhoods, you can call our Planning Services Division at the number you see here, 236-5059, or send an email. We got a general email, planning@ci.oshkosh.wi.us. You can also take a look at our website. We've got on the left side of the website, it says I want to, and click Learn About Neighborhoods. It'll give you information about forming your own neighborhood association. NeighborWorks will help you. Our planning staff will help you. We want neighbors to be engaged in how their neighborhoods are going to be viewed in the future, and this is how you do it.
Item 10 deals with quick trip improvements. What will this involve, or what kind of improvements will this involve? And then obvious question is, whenever money's involved, who pays?
Right. Well, this is the reconstruction of the intersection at West Town and Washburn. There's a proposed quick trip store going in here. And all the improvements, which amount to about $370,000, are actually going to be paid 100% by Quick Trip. They recognize it. That's the price they pay to get in a very high-profile area that is going to have traffic impact. So we've met with them. We worked very hard to get the improvements done, what we believe to be right, and then a long-term relationship so that we make sure that we've done it right, and if we haven't, that we've got a vehicle to correct those any problems that may come up. I think we've done a good job with it, and as the Quick Trip develops, you'll see the improvements really to open up the intersection for another leg that'll go into where the Quick Trip store is.
Item 11 deals with borrowing from the State Land Trust. What is this all about? What is it for? And just what's the update there?
This is for the Aviation Business Park site on the south side of town, adjacent to the airport. We're actually going a little bit farther than just a regular old industrial park. We've got those. This is aviation themed, but we're partnering with the university and Chamco and hopefully the Economic Development Administration with the federal government. We're working to pursue a grant, and this grant would help build what's known as an accelerator. A business accelerator is a facility that provides services to businesses that need help in starting up, and they're given business advice. They're given a location where they maybe can put some research and development in place and get some technical support, get some basic space where they can start experimenting with whatever little project they want to work on. But the university is also involved, and their research and the strengths that they can bring to it. So the idea behind this is, in order for us to qualify for an Economic Development Administration grant, we have to have matching funds. And our matching funds will come through the tax increment district that we're doing, but we have to borrow the money up front. We borrow it from the state land trust. So this is sort of a show me the money type of thing, that the feds know that we have met the obligations that they are expecting of us if we get this grant. We're hoping we're going to get this grant, which will be $2 million to develop this industrial park.
That'd be nice.
And to do the business accelerator. So this is a wonderful collaborative effort when you take a look at everybody involved. And I didn't even mention Winnebago County, Whitman Regional Airport. The county and the city are working on something that is unprecedented in our times here in Oshkosh. And then we got the university involved, the technical college, and Chamco, just wonderful partners that recognize that the future of economic development lies in what's going on with aviation. So you're going to see this coming up very, very soon.
Under new resolutions, items 23, 24, and 25, we discussed all of these a little bit last time around, but what's the latest with all of these Class B licenses?
These are liquor licenses, full liquor licenses that are issued, and when establishments are closed for a period of time, they can actually lose their license for inactivity. That does require a hearing. We discuss these with council, and council asked that we put these back on the agenda for final disposition, either to grant the license or to perhaps withdraw the license. The idea here is to give them an opportunity, the license owners, to give an opportunity to explain to council why they haven't done and why they should be able to keep their license. We have a waiting list of businesses that would like to have these liquor licenses, so it really is a fairness issue. If they're not using, if somebody's not using the license, shouldn't that be opened up to somebody else?
So somebody who can use it.
So the council's going to have to listen to these folks, and they have to make a compelling case for why they should be continue to be granted that license when they've really not been using it. So this will be their opportunity to make that pitch.
Finally, real quick, a couple future agenda items. 2 workshops that are coming up. What will these 2 workshops address more specifically than traffic flow to the central city and the budget?
Well, traffic flow to the central city is something that the council asked me to do as one of my goals. They wanted to identify ways to improve traffic flow to the central city. And they said central city, not downtown. So what people maybe view downtown as just North Main Street, it's much more than that. It's North Main, South Main, Jackson, Oregon, Wisconsin, Ohio, as well as University, and even getting over towards Menominee Park. How can we best get traffic flow from Highway 41 to the central area?
Yeah, attract people in.
And then get them out safely as well. So whether that involves some major infrastructure or signage, or as simple as that. The other one, 2014 budget, the council wants to be engaged earlier. They want to know where we stand from the economy standpoint, where our fiscal situation is, what things we are predicting might be happening with respect to revenues or expenditures, health insurance costs, things like that. They want to know where they stand before they get into the budget process.
All right, Mark. Well, thanks for the time as always, and filling us in on all the hot topic items, if you will.
Oh, glad to.
And that's going to do it for another edition of the City Manager's Report. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.